So, Jonesy, we're back again in the YDS podcast office here, mate. I'm actually talking about a topic I'm not super familiar with, but you are going to absolutely nail this as subject matter expert.
Yeah.
Google ads, smart ads, search ads. What are we getting at today?
Yeah, you googly ads, that's right. So Google let's come back a step. There's really two major channels now for people to use digital marketing to reach customers. I know people say there's LinkedIn and others, but really Google and Meta are the absolute gorillas on the block.
So the two big players in the market, the Facebooks and the Googles, yeah?
Yeah, mopping up all the money. And Google is super important, and it's also the one that you can turn on and off the quickest.
Yep.
So it's really flexible. It's also quick to test things. People use it just for simple things like just testing headlines. You're going to do the monthly newsletter. You're wondering which headline to use. You can actually
the
run
old
two little
clickbait
ads.
headline, yeah.
Yeah, just see which one gets the most response. It's a really quick way. If you're really nimble and you've probably got a month up your sleeve, you could test next month's newsletter like that. Cool. But it's super important to know the game you're taking the field in.
And they're not just for big companies anymore too. It applies to everybody, doesn't it?
No, you can really bring your overall spend right down. However, in certain categories that are quite highly competitive, if there's a lot of rivalry and there's a lot of people bidding for it.
Our industry, IT, I know exactly how much is in that, yeah.
Well, we had a family lawyer in the other day. If you were to spend premium in peak moments, you'll spend $60 a click.
That's expensive.
So, well, the interesting thing is you will normally take, on average, you would normally take somewhere between 30 and 50 clicks to get an inquiry. So let's take the outer rung on that.
Okay, yep.
50 clicks at $60. That's $3,000. Is it $3,000? It's $3,000. I'm looking around at
Quick
the helpers in the room. Yeah. I'm going to run with my maths. It's $3,000 to get an inquiry. Let's say you close 1 in 4, you'd be a superstar. $12,000 a client. Now that might be worth it if you're in the ambulance chasing insurance side of law, if you're getting a successful outcome. But that doesn't work for most businesses. And even when you bring it right down to, we had a plumber, great client. Shout out to Aaron if he catches this, but he was, Google's saying, Google will give you a cost per click. So the things you pay for
you can see it. Yep.
You don't pay when someone looks at your ad. You'll pay when they click for most campaign types. If you're going to pay $20 a click, that's what Google says. We've actually set his budgets up, so he actually only pays about $5.
Oh, that's really good.
So we can play with it, and it's because he's prepared to do emergency call-outs.
So we've seen accounts spend thousands, even before we came over to the YDS team, like we were spending ridiculous on our ad spend because we didn't know what we're doing. That's and it's so hard. So as
but
a
you
firm,
didn't feel like you didn't know what you did you?
No, that's
Google
right.
made you feel like
Google
you were
made
doing
me
a great
feel
job.
empowered through its automation and AI.
Totally.
Stupid things again.
No, not you. It's not you. They have the world's best psychologists and mathematicians working out how to make you feel good about spending money with Google.
Makes
and
sense.
They will not stop you spending too much.
So it makes sense. So as a firm in the city, a professional services firm, an accountant, what should their search and ad spend look like? What should that?
It's a great question. It actually comes back around to what's the value of a customer.
Okay.
Both initially
and that's going to be
and
different
lifetime,
between every firm and every
business.
professional place.
What's your likelihood of converting a lead into that customer?
Yep.
Because that gives you a multiplier on what you're going to pay to get that client. And another way to answer this would be, most professional services businesses are often able to spend up to 20% of the customer value as a cost of acquisition.
Yes.
So if you know what a customer's worth, and you might not take the full 3-year horizon, even if you took 12 months, you might be prepared to spend up to 20% of that to get that customer. And then within that 20%, you'll have various marketing activities. And so out of that, you'll fall, well, what should I be spending on Google? Yeah,
and I know your team here at YDS did for us. We went through an exercise, which was great, that you showed us what is out there in the market, and we got to look at it. That should be somewhere where all these businesses and professionals are starting, right? Get an audit report.
Who are you after? Looking for phrases you're bidding for. So just to bring it back a step, what happens in Google Ads is you will look at the various keywords people are typing in, if you're talking search, and out of those keywords you'll think, gee, that's a phrase I'd really like. It could be accountant near me. And you go, okay, great. I really want to turn up for that result because that's someone who needs an accountant and they're going to be near me, right? Good.
That's who I want to work with. That's my key.
That's called purchase intent.
Yep.
So we're normally going for phrases with purchase intent. then I'll get a price for that, what it costs me each time I get a click. And then if we're working for a business, we also have an eye to when people go to that website that they click to, is that a website that's going to convert? Because if it's a rubbish website, you can spend all the money you got getting people there. If you don't get customers through that website, then you've just wasted time.
And we've talked about that before, that nice clean landing page from that click so that you know exactly what you're landing on and getting. I think, what about some of that targeting stuff? I know we've spoken in the past about that hyper-local targeting and very, very precise. Is that something you guys can help with? And
Yeah, we do. So hyper-local targeting is where you'd be doing two things. Make sure whenever you're running ads for a certain target phrase, you want to make sure those people go to a page highly relevant to what it is you just bid for. To the point where you might have a landing page per campaign. You might have multiple campaigns running. You might be targeting suburbs, you might be targeting services that you offer. So that accountant might be doing virtual CFO, they might be doing QBCC audits, they could be doing regular business tax. All of those things are different services, and on that landing page you would talk very specifically that one thing. That helps make sure that the spend is very efficient.
Sort of like a financial services that really want to target Ma and Pa, they want to target XYZ, they're looking at refinances, for instance. These are very important things to do then, clearly.
And in the hands of someone who knows Google Ads, they would be looking at each of those services, aware that each of those services have a different cost on the cost per click, and also the customers for each of those services also have a different value. So if you're in law, you're spending less for a conveyancing client than you're prepared to spend for someone who's after maybe a corporate IP dispute, which is going to lead to a very high, protracted, expensive case if you can win it.
So there's a lot in there, very complex, but as long as you know someone or can come to someone like YDS and the team that know what they're doing, how important is that? Mark, point on the sheet here we're going to have to talk about, because I put notes down here that ad security. Important one, IT, off the back of everything we've talked about, is like shared logins, two-factor, multi-factor, who's got the keys to the kingdom? And we come back to that in a couple of the podcasts previous. It's like, okay, so once you pick up with this stuff and, as an office professional, maybe you don't have a marketing agency that's helping you. Who's looking after this? How are you securing it? Because what happens when someone gets in that shouldn't get it either? Because didn't we just have a customer recently that someone got into their click-through spend and changed some of those targeting? I think.
Oh, we had someone who had borrowed the tag off someone else's site to let Google think they were that site. And they're borrowing their
very crazy stuff, but
some sneaky stuff
going on. I guess from an IT side, we see a lot of office professionals roll through and we get phone calls going, "Hi, Steve's just left the business," or "Mary's just left the business. We don't know the login to our Google," and that. So I guess we're always trying to reinforce. Make sure it's in a password manager or something somewhere and it's shared between a bunch of people.
Super important, because let's say you had been running ads for a year or so. What you've effectively done is trained Google on who are the customers you want to get for your business. And
that's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work. So all of your past investment becomes part of your future success. And if you lose that login and have to recreate that account, you start from square one again. And the two things to really look for or watch out for is, one, if you're working with, say someone in your business used to look after this and they leave the business, they often leave to go to a competitor.
That's true.
But if you haven't taken their login away, they're now working at a competitor, and anytime they like, they're logging in to see how your current Google ads are performing.
And they can see what you're trending and tracking, and it's almost like that counterintelligence sort of stuff going on.
Absolutely.
How scary is that?
All the time. So they wouldn't do things as overt as move your numbers around or change your bidding, but they'd be having a really healthy listen and just seeing what's been going on. And the other thing we see is the person who is making sure that your analytics on the site is tied into your Google Ads really effectively. If you've got that measure wrong, then your ads will keep firing blind because they won't know what happened on the website. So tying those two together is probably one of the most important things, and probably one of the most overlooked things that we see.
Yeah, that working hand-in-hand approach,
And we can normally see that in a few minutes. So if anyone was listening to this and just wanted to confirm that they're in good order when it comes to that, just let me know and we'll just have a quick look and let you know. No obligation on that.
It's really good. So, Mark, how do people avoid wasting what they're spending on these ads? There is a marketing budget there. Some of these firms will have that, but how do they make sure that's key and targeted and get rid of that cannon fodder off either side?
I'm going to talk about wasting spend in two ways.
Okay.
I'm actually going to talk about my industry and digital marketers who take money from clients and then do nothing by way of delivering a service. We picked up a client about a year ago who for 18 months had been paying $3,000 a month to have their Google Ads account managed. So quite
It's
a
not
large
small
complex,
change, yeah.
Not small change. But in there we can see the access history on the account, and they hadn't logged in for over 6 months. So they've been taking their full service fee, and they haven't logged in and made a single change in that account for 6 months. Now that is theft in anyone's view, I think. So the first thing is make sure the people you're paying to look after this are actually looking after it.
And any of those people that are in those office professional spaces can log in. It's just portals,
Absolutely.
right? So they should encourage their provider to be able to have access to these tools.
Show me the changes you made.
Yep.
And they should be seeing performance improve over time.
Yeah.
The thing to watch though, you can't sit back and spend the same money year on year and expect the same result. So Google has increased the cost per click in all categories as an average, 91% year on year. If you go
That's
back
way
6
higher
months.
than CPI. That's crazy.
So you should be seeing a halving of the clicks for the same money if you
Yep.
don't change anything else.
Yep.
So things change around us, so performance can change on account of that. The other thing is to watch out for overspend is just setting budget limits. Because once you overspend on Google, you don't get your money back. So making
it's
sure there are
all
some
in,
thresholds. Yeah, if they take it and they run those ads, no refunds.
Yep.
And so a good discipline is to set a spending limit and make sure that your account won't go past that, so you don't get the CFO chasing you around with a stick.
Yeah, and what's a expected budget? Like, what should people be looking for?
Yeah, again, depending on the industry, but in professional services, they're quite competitive, but the value of customers is quite high. So, someone spending $20,000 a month is very much, that's not unusual, but people could start for as little as $2,000 a month.
Yep.
Maybe less depending on the category if it's non-competing or non-competitive. But once you're into a competitive industry where the customers have a reasonable
Those lawyers,
value,
financial services.
yeah, you're spending a couple of grand. But our job is to help any client get to what I refer to as marketing escape velocity. And that is where when they're starting to spend $1, they need to have a firm belief that they're going to get more than $1 back. And that's when it becomes an investment. And look, that can take a time for certain businesses, depending on what's happening and the complexities involved. But that should be our job, is to get to that.
To help support these professionals and stuff to work through that process.
And we know that by various numbers and ratios and feedback and data points. We're not guessing that either. That's not a voodoo, throw the bones and see which way they're falling. That's what are my numbers telling me today. So the key things, if someone wanted just 3 things to watch in Google Ads, I would be making sure that number 1, you've got someone looking after it. If you don't know what you're doing, get someone looking after it and make sure that you know that they are doing that work. Secondly, be very, very clear on which services, which customers, and what they're worth to you. If you know that gives you your outer parameters.
The barrier around it.
And you're not going to you can't overspend in that environment because you know what you're going for. And then thirdly, regular monitoring. So your error will amplify the longer there is between check-in points. If you give it longer, it takes further to get back on track. So if you're checking weekly or monthly, awesome. Don't do it quarterly, too far apart.
I guess from my IT side, the thing we always come back down to is make sure the accounts are secure, multiple people know what they are and log in, because once that person leaves the business, it's not coming back. So
chopping out that dead wood. If they've gone, they've got
get rid of it straight away. That's right.
Exactly.
What are the 3 ways you're going to get help?
Yeah, when we're outsourcing and getting help. So speaking, if I ran my own business and I wanted to do marketing and I didn't have a digital agency, I'm going to get help outside because I'm about to make a serious investment. And just like I don't do my own accounting because I don't understand the language of it and I don't know the angles and the tricks, I'm going to get someone who knows how to do digital marketing.
Someone that's a subject matter expert at their,
for Google Ads, and it changes regularly, so I want somebody who's up to speed. Right? So I'm going to outsource that. I can actually outsource that to AI software, and I can try and be an oblivious user getting told by software.
A consumer,
and cross my fingers. I can do that. I can offshore, so I can get someone offshore, but that has a bunch of little problems around it. You might have had the same thing with offshore.
And look, there's nothing wrong. We've worked with some fantastic offshore companies and some terrible offshore companies. Security is a huge one. And certain providers now, I think NDIS is one, can't offshore. It's a big no-no, but people are using these offshore, companies without thinking about that. So that's from our point of view.
Do you know one thing I heard a month or 2 ago now, but that if you have a direct relationship with people offshore,
Yep.
they actually fall under the Australian labour rights and entitlements. And when you sever that relationship, the offshore party can come back at you for any omitted entitlements such as leave and even superannuation.
Yeah. So
despite being
not
offshore.
saying that's wrong, but if you're going to do it, got to make sure you do it
Beware.
right.
Yeah.
Buy beware. And what's
Yeah,
the third way?
Well, the third way is to go to an sort of nearshoring, where you might have onshore support, but it's still appropriate and it's valid to get offshore help to, so this stuff's very time consuming. So to pay Aussie hourly rate, that can rack up pretty quickly. And if you're spending say $3,000 a month on your Google ad spend, you don't want to go and spend another $2,000 a month just managing.
$5,000 on this one function.
There's something you just sort of got to balance that. You want as much of your money going in the market as ads, not
because that's where your ROI is, right? It's in the ad itself.
That's where people are going to learn about it. So that nearshoring model, or that model of an Australian face that you can talk to, an Australian company that you can have
Work with.
protections around.
Yep.
and
Might be the
responsible
cane
to
farmer in
you.
me, but it was always someone I can go shake the hand of, so...
What's the eyes?
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
And then, of course, if they happen to use resources that are, more economical, but still accountable for their work,
Yep.
that's probably a good mix.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Cool.